Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Maddie here, and Eevee Grove, the new mini set coming to Pokemon Pocket, has just been released. We have the full set list here. We are on PokemonZone.com. I am actually recording this live. I am in a live stream right now with about 700 people watching. We just opened a ton of packs, and now we're going to go ahead and share our full review of this set. I do think it's a lot better than maybe we even anticipated it being originally. A lot of really strong cards were released for this particular mini set. 69 total unique cards and a bunch of cool rarities. But anyway, guys, let's just dive right into it. As always, all of these sets and mini sets are going to have some filler. The chat is saying hi YouTube, so hi YouTube guys. A lot of the mini sets are going to have some filler cards, right? So we're not going to kind of cover everything in the set because some of the cards in generally are just not that good, but a lot of the cards are very strong. So anyway, guys, let's get right into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's dive right in. So starting off with Tropius. Can I zoom in here? Is this? Yeah, we'll do it like this. Hopefully this is fine. Tropius, 100 HP, 3 colorless energies, 60 damage. One of those filler cards for sure. We've already seen Leafeon. I don't think Leafeon is going to see that much play. There's just a lot of really strong grass-type cards in the format that aren't kind of the Leafeon package. Things like Celebi, Superior, Leafeon haven't seen any play previously, even with the inclusion of Leaf Cape. So I think that grass-type right now will probably be dominated still by Buzzwole. But technically speaking, this card can do a lot of damage. I've already talked about it, so I'm not going to spend too much time going over Leafeon. However, we do have a new Bounsweet card, and we do have a new Steenie card, and we do have a new Tsareena card. And these cards are actually very strong in a lot of different ways. This Tsareena is still going to work with Mallow. Mallow was an incredibly strong supporter card, which can basically full heal Tsareena. This Tsareena also attacks for only 1 energy. However, now we have 140 HP, which I believe the other Tsareena had at 130. So that's a big difference. It goes from, of course, 140 to 170 with Leaf Cape. But anyway, this Tsareena is broken. It's a little bit different than the other Tsareena, which did a lot of damage with coin flips, but for, 1 energy, which means that we can go first on our second turn rare candy and then attack with Tsareena. Very strong. Kickdown is the attacker. 50 damage for 1 grass energy. Your opponent reveals a random card from their hand and shuffles it into their deck. Now, this is broken. Like this ability from this attack is really strong. 50 damage is nothing to sneeze at, especially if we do get Tsareena out early. That's a really strong aggressive damage from our second turn going first or second. So quite good. Of course, we are going to be a bit reliant on getting that rare candy out early. However, we can attach to the Leaf Cape. We have Erika's, this thing, and Mallow as well. This thing's going to survive for a very long time. Not a lot of Pokemon are going to be able to 1-hit KO Tsareena, especially with Leaf Cape. So basically being able to just chip your opponent for 50 damage over and over again while removing cards from their hand is effectively pretty crazy. If this card comes out early enough, you're going to basically remove a lot of cards from your opponent's hand. It does shuffle them back into the deck, but still, that's really strong. Effectively, if we kind of pop off, we could be forcing our opponent to literally play off the top deck for the rest of the game, and that is incredibly strong. So I'm really high on Tsareena. The new Bounsweet, I believe, is again plus 10 HP, which is really relevant. 50 is not as nearly as good in terms of HP amount as 60 is, so there we go, 60 HP. I don't actually remember what the old Steenie was like, but anyway, 80 HP, 40 damage for this Steenie. I believe that's an improvement from the old one, but anyway, new Tsareena, definitely really good. We have a new Applin and a new Appletun card, so Appletun is very interesting as well. This is going to be a new Sweets Relay card, so a ton of the Pokemon in the set, similar like we saw with the Milcery and the Alcremie cards earlier in the trailer for the particular set and for Eevee Grove that had these sort of Sweets Relay attacks. There's actually a bunch more Pokemon that have these particular attacks. Appletun is one of them. This is a Grass-type Pokemon, Stage 1, 1 energy, 40 damage. If one of your Pokemon used Sweets Relay during your last turn, this attack does 30 more damage. So it's a little bit different. All of the Sweets Relay attacks, I believe, are just a bit different. This could potentially just be 70 damage for 1 energy. That's pretty relevant. I know one of the Sweets Relay attacks was boosted by how many turns in a row you did the Sweets Relay attack, so that is very interesting. I like this particular Appletun card. And I think the Sweets Relay stuff's very interesting. A lot of the cards in the set have that particular attack effect, so I think there's a lot of potential with those. We'll have to see. We'll mess around with it. We'll try our best, but a lot of the Pokemon are low HP, but they're low attack cost. So theoretically speaking, it could be very strong. Okay, moving on to the Fire-type Pokemon, we have 2 new Flareon cards, which we've seen the EX, but we also got a non-EX Flareon, which actually pairs fairly well with Flareon EX. So this is going to be the Assist Heater Flareon card. 110 HP, 2 energies, 40 damage. Take a fire energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. So this isn't not only a card that's going to synergize specifically with Flareon EX, but this is a card that can synergize with basically anything. This is different than Moltres, because Moltres EX can only attach fire energies to your benched fire Pokemon. Technically speaking, Flareon can accelerate energies to any one of your Pokemon, meaning we can play this sort of Flareon EX package with a variety of different stuff. There is one colorless Pokemon that we're going to take a look at later in this video that could fit really well with this fire type archetype. Fire is on the up. I will say that right now there's a variety of cards that have been either made new or made better, but fire is going to be very, very strong. So keep that in mind. But yeah, assist healer Flareon, this card is very, very interesting for sure. I think it's going to see definitely some play. Just a very flexible attack there that is just going to be good no matter how you slice it. And then, of course, we've seen Flareon EX. I've already spent some time talking about it. I think Flareon EX is really strong. But one thing I will say, this is going to be a bit of a spoiler for later in the video. There is a previously existing Fire-type EX Pokemon that saw play previously and is now a lot better due to some specific supporter cards, which have been, or one particular supporter card, which we'll talk about later in this video. So yeah, I do think Flareon is good, but it might be overshadowed by some other EX Pokemon that has gotten even better for whatever the reason in the set release. So stay tuned for that. Here is Torkoal. This is another card that, again, synergizes really well with Flareon. 2 fire energies, basic Pokemon, 100 HP, 70 damage, and you discard a fire energy from this Pokemon. So this is kind of like the middle ground for like Turtonator. It's like a less strong Turtonator, but it's 2 less energies. So we don't have Kiawe, but theoretically speaking, we don't really need Kiawe. If Turtonator can just do 70 for 2 energies, we discard those fire energies, we can bring them back with Flareon, and it's actually a pretty decent partner, and it's a basic Pokemon as well, so it's not going to bog down your deck. A pretty decent partner, honestly, for Flareon. I think Torkoal is pretty decent, honestly. Okay, we have a new Litten card, and we have a new Torracat card. I'm literally sweating right now. It's so hot in my office. I don't know what temperature it is outside, but it's super, super hot right now. Literally sweating. Okay, anyway, we have a new Incineroar, but it's not Incineroar EX. It is just a non-EX Incineroar, 150 HP, retreat cost of 3, weak to fire, 3 energies, Darkest Lariat, 100 damage, flip 2 coins. This attack does 100 damage for each head. So yeah, this card is theoretically incredibly strong, but I don't know if it's going to see play. These coin flip attacks are kind of inconsistent, so they don't always see play. However, you could play maybe 1 copy of this Incineroar in an Incineroar EX deck, which might be even better now. Again, you're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, definitely an interesting card. This card art goes absolutely insanely hard as well. Theoretically speaking, 200 is enough to KO basically any Pokemon in the game, so if you're feeling lucky, why not go for it? Kind of a crazy card for sure. We have a new Salandit, which again acts as basically a faster-paced version of Torkoal. It does evolve, of course, into Salazzle, but 60 HP, Ember does 30 damage, and you still discard a fire energy from this Pokemon. So this is a way to do really aggressive, consistent early damage. 30 damage isn't terrible, but again, those energies that we're discarding, we immediately bring them back onto Flareon. So even a little bit of damage could be enough to put Flareon EX over the top. So keep that in mind. Honestly, Salazzle might be one of the best partners for Flareon as a very fast-paced, very aggressive option. And then it evolves into Salazzle, which just does 40 for 1. So to be fair, this card is not very good, but Salandit does have some potential with Flareon EX. So keep that in mind. We've already talked about the new Vaporeon, and we've already talked about the new Glaceon. I think these cards are fine. If you guys want to hear my opinions about the cards that we've talked about previously, definitely go check out the video where I kind of analyzed and reviewed the cards that were released in the trailer. Some of these cards we've already seen so far, so I've already talked about them. So if you're interested, you can go check out that old previous video that I uploaded a couple of days ago. Next up, we do have Vanillite, and this is another Sweets Relay Pokemon. So because this is a basic, it looks to me like the basic versions of these Sweets Relay Pokemon do 10 damage plus 20 if, of course, you've used Sweets Relay before, and the Stage 1 versions do, what is it, 40? So it's a difference between 30 damage or 50 damage, so it's a little bit different. But then, of course, it does kind of cap off with some other Pokemon that do like Sweet something, I forget. But we'll take a look at that in a little bit. It evolves into Vanilluxe, which again is very similar. Sweets Relay 30 damage, but does 20 more. So instead of 30, now we're doing, of course, 20 or 50 rather. But this is interesting because it still works. Like you can attack with Vanillite and then evolve into Vanilluxe and then potentially go, 10, then 30, then 50. So that is definitely interesting. Whether we evolve or not, the effect still sort of carries over from when we evolve. So you got to keep that in mind as well. Effectively speaking, it's not terrible. The Sweets Relay stuff's very interesting. It's going to be a pretty decent, fast-paced, aggressive, like single prize archetype. I don't know how strong it will be in the metagame, but at least we do have sort of this, you know, new archetype that we can kind of explore and play and maybe do pretty well with. The cool thing is there's several different Pokemon of different types. So we have the ability to hit for weakness against a lot of different Pokemon that might be in the metagame, and that is definitely pretty important. Weakness should not be understated, especially in more aggressive decks where you're doing smaller attacks, but earlier on, that weakness damage does compound over time. So again, there are some Psychic Pokemon with Sweets Relay. We've seen this Water type. There's Appletun. So several different Pokemon types with the Sweets Relay attack that can all fit into the same deck and hit for weakness on different Pokemon for sure. All right. What do we got next? There is a Vanilluxe, the Stage 2 version. This can do double spin, 80 damage, flip 2 coins, does 80 damage for each heads. But this is for 2 energies. So, I mean, theoretically speaking, you know, not terrible. 140 HP as well. We have Misties, so, you know, even going second on our first turn, we technically could get this attack off. It's not a bad Pokemon whatsoever. Rare Candy does exist for sure, but interesting that it's not really associated with the Sweets sort of archetype. But either way, we have a new Alola Mola as well. 110 damage, or HP rather. 3 energies, Water Pulse, 50 damage, and then your opponent's Pokemon is now asleep. So probably won't see play, but in basic Pokemon, so it's kind of interesting, I'm not gonna lie. Now, one thing that I think a lot of people are really excited about, I know a lot of people have been asking about it, is a new PRIMARINA card. And yes, we did get a PRIMARINA EX card. So this is the new Poplio, 2 energies on a basic. So unfortunately, this Pokemon probably won't be doing much attacking. However, maybe we get a Misty's off on turn 1 and we pop off. Could definitely be something that happens for sure. But anyway, there's the Poplio card. Here is the Umbreon card. So still 2 water energies, but 40 damage now, 90 HP. And then now something that I've literally never seen. I haven't even seen this card yet. This is PRIMARINA EX, Stage 2 water type Pokemon. I will say to you, since Rare Candy's been released, we actually haven't had many relevant water type Stage 2 Pokemon. In fact, I think the only one that's in the game as far as EX Pokemon go is Blastoise, I believe. And Blastoise saw some play, but it didn't see that much play. PRIMARINA, we now have effectively what's kind of feels to me almost like an Incineroar, but water type, but maybe a little bit different. Let's take a look here. 180 HP, so 200 with Giant Cape. We have Misties, we have Irida, so pretty crazy if you think about it. Weak to Electric for sure. Hydro Pump, 1 water energy, 40 damage. If this Pokemon has at least 1 extra water energy attached, this does 40 more damage. This is absolutely broken, guys. This is my first time seeing this card. This card is nuts. I'm kind of waiting to see what the chat says about this because, again, we have Misties and we have things like Manaphy, right? So theoretically speaking, what we can do is if we do get a lucky early game Misties as well as an early Rare Candy combination, we can effectively do 80 damage on our second turn, which is absolutely insane. On our second turn going second, we can actually do 80 damage very consistently. So PRIMARINA is really strong. This first attack is absolutely insane. 80 damage on your second turn is nuts for a Pokemon with 180 HP, plus the extra consistency of maybe being able to do that going first because we might be playing Misties as well. The second attack, 100 damage, and you heal 20 damage from this Pokemon. A pretty average attack, not terrible. Definitely going to be more than 80 in some scenarios, so certainly could be valuable to finish off KOs. 80 plus 100 is 180, and most of these Stage 2 Pokemon have 180 HP, so that's very relevant for sure. We can also play Lily in this deck. I just kind of thought about that. It is a Stage 2, so we could play Irida, but we're probably just playing Lily because it's just a better card, and we can heal PRIMARINA, but interesting nonetheless. This card is very, very strong in my mind. I'm kind of sad that I didn't pull any copies of this particular card because this card is nuts, and this damage is even further boosted by a card which we'll take a look at in a little bit, perhaps the most influential card for the set. Again, we'll get to it in a little bit. It's a new supporter card, but anyway, PRIMARINA. A lot of people have been hoping for PRIMARINA EX, and it is absolutely busted. 20 healing as well. Again, we have Lilies. We have a lot of other cards that can heal in conjunction with this 20 healing. So PRIMARINA could stay alive for quite some time. We also have Giant Cape and also a new tool card, which might also do some healing. We'll have to wait and see for sure. Only 3 Electro-type Pokemon that came out in the set, so Electro-type will not be popping off. I think Electro-type has plenty of different support with Zeraora, with Oricorio, with Tapu Koko. But yes, we do have the new Jolteon. We've already seen this card before. I really like this card for sure. As far as non-EX Pokemon go, it's going to be very fast-paced, very aggressive. And of course, we have a new Joltik here, which you flip a coin and you could paralyze. And then we have the new Galvantula. Honestly, not a bad Pokemon by any stretch of the imagination. 70 damage for 2 energies. You discard all of the energies from Galvantula, but then your opponent's Pokemon is now paralyzed. Now, you got to keep it something in mind. Paralysis isn't something that you flip a coin to get rid of. Once you're paralyzed for the turn. There's no way to get around that. You can't retreat. You can't do nothing. Technically speaking, Celesteela can bypass that, and things like Solgaleo can bypass that, but you can't retreat when you're paralyzed. So 70 damage, you do discard all of the energies, but you get a guaranteed paralysis. Now, the reason this is relevant is because we have ways to attach 2 lightning energies to a Pokemon in one turn, primarily being with Zeraora and Dawn. So playing Galvantula decks with Zeraora and a Dawn combination will allow us to attack multiple turns in a row for Electrical Shock, which is crazy because your opponent will effectively not be able to do anything for 2 full turns. That is kind of nuts. Honestly, not bad at all. It also has free retreat, I am just now noticing, which is broken. So even if, we're not attacking turn after turn, this could literally just be like a, hey, I'm going to hit you for 70, and then I get the whole next turn for free. So the free retreat means that, honestly, we can just come in, explode for 70 damage, paralyze you, and then retreat out for free and go into whatever other Pokemon we want to. I actually think Galvantula is kind of broken, I'm not going to lie. Maybe not good enough. It does only have 80 HP, but the paralysis is crazy, I'm not going to lie. RCCX is immune to paralysis. Thank you, Patrick, in the chat. But Arceus isn't super common right now. In fact, most of the Arceus decks are electric type decks, to be fair. But anyway, yeah, Galvantula. It's an interesting Pokemon, I'm not going to lie. Aspeon, we've already talked about it. Not a terrible card whatsoever. And then we have a new Woobat. Here you go. 20 damage, 60 HP. And we have a new Swoobat, which is 40 damage, 100 HP. Again, more filler cards. And then, of course, we go into the SNORLAX card here, which is, again, more Sweets Relay, now Psychic type. So we are hitting those Pokemon that are weak to Psychic. Pretty interesting, for sure. So we have a SNORLAX, and then we have the Slurpuff, which, again, is a bit different, actually. So this is 30 damage. If one of your Pokemon use Sweets Relay during your last turn, this attack does 60 more damage, but it's 2 colorless energy. So, again, this is kind of broken. Effectively pretty broken. And this is Sweets Relay. So, I'm pretty sure we're just doing 90 damage every turn, effectively. Is that how this works? I don't think there's any drawbacks here. I think we hit for 30, and then we evolve, and then we start hitting for 90 every turn. That's really strong. This is going to be kind of the core, for sure, of the of the Sweets Relay decks. Now that I'm kind of looking at this is really, really strong. Can you say Espeon again? Espeon. I don't know why the chat wanted me to say Espeon again. Slurpuff. Here it is. Kind of crazy, especially when you pair it with the Alcremie, which we'll take a look at in a little bit. Now, here is a new Sylveon. We've seen Sylveon EX, where you draw cards. That card is definitely really strong. I'll pull it up in a little bit, but there is a non-EX Sylveon, which is also incredibly strong. Evo Harmony, 2 Psychic Energies, Stage 1 Pokemon, 90 HP. This does 40 damage, but it does 30 more damage for each Evolution Pokemon on your bench. Now, of course, yes, it's of course tougher to fill your bench with Evolution Pokemon, but theoretically speaking, if we have 3 Evolution Pokemon on our bench, that is 90 damage plus 40. That's 130 for 3 energies. That's a lot of damage for 2 energies on a Pokemon like this. So another really strong attack. In fact, something that I honestly think could be really relevant. Again, we can play 4 copies of Eevee with Eevee and Eevee EX, and then we can play 4 copies of Sylveon with Sylveon and Sylveon EX, and we're drawing extra cards, so this deck might actually be a lot better than we think. This is probably going to be the main attacking option in which we're pairing with Sylveon. The upside here is that, potentially speaking, we could pop off for 130. Actually, maybe we lead off with Eevee and do 30 damage, then we go into Sylveon, hit for 130, and then maybe we get KO'd, that's fine, but then we kind of bounce back, and then we do 100 damage, and then we can finally go into Sylveon. Sylveon EX, that is. I think that this is actually quite strong. Probably going to be a pretty decent partner, and the Sylveon deck in general, I think, is going to be pretty good. So, yeah, I was not expecting a card like this, but I think it's going to pair really well with Sylveon EX. Here it is. Happy Ribbon, 70 damage for 2 energy, so much less strong than the non-EX Sylveon. But we do draw 2 cards when we evolve. So, yeah, I think, honestly, just playing a 4-4 lineup of Sylveon is going to be a pretty strong archetype. You could even just kind of throw Giratina in there if you needed to. Effectively, a pretty decent package archetype right here, already kind of constructed for you. We also have Eevee Cape, so keep that in mind. Yeah, I like it. I really do a lot. I didn't know exactly how we were going to play Sylveon, but now maybe it's a little bit more clear. Probably just playing it with the small Sylveon all packaged up into one archetype. Pretty crazy, honestly. This new metagame is going to be nuts. A lot of new archetypes and new strategies are going to be kind of thrown right in, and I cannot wait for it. We do have a new Mimikyu, so this will be working with the Acerola supporter card, but I don't necessarily think that the old Mimikyu was very good. Acerola is a pretty good card, but this Mimikyu, 70 HP, 2 Psychic Energies, tried to imitate Flip a coin. If heads, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as this attack. So yes, this is basically Mew EX at home. This is like the budget version of Mew EX. Basically, it's 2 energies instead of 3, but we have to flip a coin in order to use this particular attack. We don't have a lot of HP. I don't think this card will really ever see play. I think you would probably just always play Mew EX in place of Mimikyu, but anyway, there it is. And then again, here's Milcery. So this is 50 HP with Sweets Relay. We've seen this card before. And then this is the thing here, Sweets Overload with Alcremie. So this is going to be like the final Pokemon. This is going to be the final thing that we bring in to attack in the Sweets Relay attack, or in the Sweets Relay deck. 40 damage. This attack does 40 damage for each time your opponent has used Sweets Relay during this game. So basically, this is like an anti-ramp deck, like against things like Giratina Darkrai, which aren't attacking you until turn 3 at the earliest. This allows us to effectively guarantee 3 attacks off and then potentially 2 more attacks off with Sweets Relay, maybe doing enough damage to KO a Pokemon, and then we can come into Alcremie and just one-hit KO to finish the game here. Very, very strong. I think the Sweets Relay archetype is going to be a lot better than I honestly expected it to be. Slurpuff is broken. Like, I think this deck would be good just playing 2 Swirlix, 2 Swirlpuff, or Slurpuff rather, 2 Milcery, and then 2 Alcremie. I really think that this archetype is going to be quite solid. Kind of nuts. The Sweets Relay stuff and Sweets Overload, not something to be overlooked. I really think it has a lot of potential. I would love to hear your guys' comments down in the comment section below. Let me know. I would love to hear your opinions on all this stuff. But yeah, something to keep your eye out. It's a lot stronger than I thought it might be. Not fully meme, I'm not going to lie. Not a full meme strategy. It's a real thing. It's definitely a real thing. Here's a new Barboach card. Again, not really doing much. And also the new Whiscash is how you say this? I could not say that properly. Whiscash, 130 HP, fighting type, 4 energies, 130, and then it does 10 damage to each one of your benched Pokemon. I don't think Whiscash will see much play. Here's a new Mienfoo, 40 damage, but you have to flip a coin. If tails, this does nothing. And then it evolves into Mienshao, 70 damage for 2 energies. Again, kind of more filler cards. These cards aren't going to see play. We have a new Carbink, which is also kind of interesting. So this is basically the basic Pokemon version of, was it Dugtrio that we got way back in the day? 80 HP, 2 energies, 30 damage. Flip a coin if heads during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage from and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. So basically speaking, you hit for 30, you flip a coin. If heads, you're safe. You're immune. Unless you get kind of gusted out of the active spot, nothing's happening to Carbink, which is pretty funny. Definitely kind of a stall card. But yeah, I don't know if the Dugtrio ever saw play back in the day, but theoretically speaking, it's, kind of a strong effect. We've seen Umbreon before. Not too many dark type cards in the set. No Umbreon EX, unfortunately. There is some pretty cool full arts, but here is Umbreon, 100 HP, 40 damage. Of course, the defending Pokemon can't retreat if it's a basic Pokemon. I've already talked about Umbreon. I don't think it's going to be that good, but here it is, Umbreon EX. We have a new Sableye, which again is also kind of a filler card, 30 damage, not really doing much. We have a new Purloin here, which discards a tool card. And then we have Liepard, which again, also a filler card, 2 energies, 70 damage. It's really easy to find the filler cards in these sets. Very easy to kind of point them out. We have a new Mawile, which has Powerful Vice, 30 damage. Flip a coin if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Also something that probably won't see play, but there it is. And we have a new Togedemaru, which does get boosted by damage from the Sophocles supporter card from a couple of sets ago. Bristling Spikes, 80 HP, Metal type, Bristling Spikes, 30 damage. During your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, you do 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon or attacking Pokemon. This Pokemon would be good if it was 1 energy in its attack cost, but it's definitely hard to justify playing this Pokemon with 2 energies in its attack cost. But anyway, there it is. And we do have a new Meltan and a new Melmetal. I don't think these cards are very good either. I think this is definitely kind of a throwaway card, 90 damage for 3 energies. Not as good as the other Melmetal as way back in the day for sure. Now we get into something extremely, extremely interesting. So there is a new Dragonite EX, as you can see. So we'll get into it. Here's the Dratini, Colorless Energy, 20 damage. And a new Dragonair. We already have versions of these cards, but anyway, Dragonair, 90 HP, Water and Lightning, 60 damage. And then here we go, guys. We have Dragonite EX. Now, you have to keep in mind that we have the small Dragonite as well. So theoretically speaking, you could play like 2 Dragonite EX and then 1 of the small Dragonite or vice versa. But either way, Dragonite EX. This card is crazy. 180 HP, stage 2 Pokemon, 1 water, 1 lightning, 1 colorless, Giga Impact, 180 damage. And during your next turn, this Pokemon can attack. So this seems like definitely a bit of a vanilla card, and it might at first glance not be something that is very easy to play or build around. But one thing I will say is that we have a lot of ways to get energies like these onto Dragonite. We have things like Manaphy, which can accelerate the water energies to your bench Pokemon. We have Zeraora, which can, of course, generate electric energies, and then, of course, we can just play Dawn to move those energies to Dragonite. We could also just play Water and Lightning energies in the deck, and then just kind of build this thing up, maybe sit like a Druddigon in the active spot. A lot of different scenarios, I'm not going to lie, to get Dragonite set up. It's only 3 energies, which, you know, of course, isn't as good as maybe some of the other, you know, Stage 2 Pokemon, but 180 is 180, and that's enough to KO most Stage 2 Pokemon in the game. And to be fair, not being able to attack on your next turn, I don't think is that big of a deal. I am well versed in Dragonite. We opened multiple copies of this card. Not being able to attack on your next turn isn't a big deal, because if we bring in Dragonite and we take a KO, then honestly, there's nothing really else that's going to KO us back other than maybe like another Dragonite. So we can attack and then just kind of sit for a turn, take an attack, and then on the following turn, hit for 180 again. So if we are able to get Dragonite set up in a timely manner, it probably will just sweep through your opponent. There's really not much your opponent can do to Dragonite EX. This is a very, very powerful Pokemon. One of the strongest attacking Pokemon that we have in Pokemon Pocket so far. So don't sleep on Dragonite. Definitely don't. It's also not weak to anything. So yeah, here's Dragonite. Definitely an impressive card. Not going to lie. We also have a new Drampa, which is also not a bad card. So no weakness here. Retreat cost of 2, 100 HP basic, 2 colorless Pokemon, 70 damage, flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing. But if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So a pretty generic card that could see play in a variety of different decks. Could be another thing to pair with Flareon. Just not a terrible Pokemon, honestly. I kind of like Drampa. The attack is kind of mid because, of course, sometimes it does nothing. But 70 damage and paralysis is kind of nuts if it does hit. So keep your eye on Drampa. We do have a new Eevee that's not Eevee EX. This doesn't do any damage, but for 1 energy, we do draw a card. Collect Eevee. I mean, maybe I don't know. I'm personally a fan of the continuous step Eevee, and you can just pop off and 1-hit KO your opponent's Pokemon if you flip a bunch of coins. I actually think that's the best Eevee card, but anyway, if you just wanted this Eevee to draw cards, here it is. We have like a million different Eevee cards. They all do different things. So here is this new Eevee, and then of course we have Eevee EX, which of course is going to be very useful in the archetypes where we're playing multiple copies of Evolution cards. But anyway, 30 damage, and then of course we can evolve Eevee EX into any Evolution card. It doesn't have to be an EX card or not. So that is definitely pretty relevant. Eevee EX, we've already talked about it. We actually have a new SNORLAX EX. This was the big surprise to me. I know some people were thinking, okay, maybe all of the other EX Pokemon we get in the set are just going to be more Evolutions. That was not the case. We got things like PRIMARINA, we got things like Dragonite, we got things like SNORLAX. Let's take a look at SNORLAX. Basic, colorless EX Pokemon, 160 HP. Pretty crazy, but not as high as you maybe would expect. I think Wishiwashi has 170. Things like Executor had 160. So a basic EX Pokemon with 160 is a lot. I'm not going to say it's not. And of course, Arceus, one of the best colorless EX Pokemon in the game, has 140, so 160 is a lot. I'm not going to lie. We also have Giant Cape to bring that to 180. But anyway, its ability here, Full Mouth Manner. At the end of your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, heal 20 damage from this Pokemon. That's pretty relevant. That could add up, especially against some aggressive archetypes that do a little bit of chip damage early on in the game. This is a Pokemon that's going to be really, really annoying to deal with, kind of an anti-aggro deck. It's going to be a very strong counterplay to aggro decks, which is really, really interesting. I think that Full Mouth Manner is a really strong ability, and it's also going to pair with a couple other cards. Wigglytuff, of course, as we've seen play with Charizard, and in other decks can heal. We have Shaman, and of course we have a bunch of healing cards that we can play with SNORLAX. But anyway, the attack here, 4 colorless energy, flop down punch, 130. This Pokemon is now asleep. That's not that big of a deal either. The non-EX SNORLAX, okay, one thing I will point out, this SNORLAX EX does not work with Berry. Some people are going to be interested about that. The Berry supporter card that we played with the non-EX SNORLAX, it doesn't work because SNORLAX EX technically is a different Pokemon name than the normal SNORLAX, so we're not going to be able to play SNORLAX EX with Berry. They're not going to synergize. Just keep that in mind. But anyway, 130, and then you're now asleep. 130 is a good amount of damage. It really is. There's a lot of Pokemon where you're basically 2-hit KOing any Pokemon in the game, and we're doing quite a bit of damage against and KOing a lot of honestly non-EX Pokemon, basically all non-EX Pokemon. So this is a pretty decent counter to a lot of different things. We also directly DOS in the chat is saying that this directly heals all of the damage that you would take from like a Darkrai ping or something like that, or even like Greninja. So kind of a counter to Darkrai for sure. 130, again, a decent amount of HP. We can use red, hit for 150. That's going to be enough to KO most Pokemon in the game for sure. 4 energies is kind of tough, but it is colorless energies, and there's so many different ways that we can generically generate energies in the game now. We could honestly pair Snorlax with Dialga EX. We could pair it with Manaphy. There's so many different ways in which we can pair with Snorlax. I think it's kind of interesting. You could also just pair it directly with Giratina, and then you could just sort of Broken Space Bella with Giratina and then attach to Snorlax, kind of similarly to Darkrai, instead of course, doing that little bit of chip damage that you do with Nightmare Aura. We're just setting up a bit of a stronger Pokemon in Snorlax. There's a lot of flexibility in how we can play it. I think this card is great, and I think it's probably going to see play in a lot of different types of decks. I think Snorlax EX is very, very strong. Shout out to Snorlax. I did not think we'd be getting Snorlax EX in this particular mini set, but here it is. And this is the last EX Pokemon to take a look at in this particular set. So there you go, Snorlax EX. I think it's really, really strong. We do have a new Ambipom, which does double hit, 20 damage, flip of coins, maybe do 40, who knows. And then we have Ambipom. This is actually a quite interesting card. It's a unique card. We haven't seen an effect like this in Pokemon Pocket before. Catching Tail, once during your turn, you may put a random Pokemon tool card from your deck into your hand. So this is the first card that we have that searches for tool cards. Not a lot of decks are, I guess, necessarily super reliant on tool cards, but anyway, here it is. An ability to search your deck for tool cards is definitely pretty cool. We have a new Chatot, which does 10 damage and then confuses you. This card's really annoying. I don't know if it'll see play because it's only 10 damage, but yeah, confusion instantly is kind of crazy. I'm not going to lie. But there you go. There's Chatot. Here's Audino, do the wave, 20 damage for each of your benched Pokemon. Kind of a filler card, but honestly not that terrible. What else do we've got? We've got a new Minchino and Chinchino. Again, also kind of filler cards, so we're not really going to talk about them. We have a new Squovit and a new Greedant card, Enhanced Fang, 50 damage. If this Pokemon has a tool card attached, it does 50 more damage. So there you go. I guess this is the Pokemon that we would kind of pair with Ambipom, maybe even Pachirisu. You could play Ambipom, Pachirisu, and maybe make those cards a little bit more consistent. I don't think Pachirisu EX or Greedant are very, very strong cards, but theoretically speaking, Stage 1 Pokemon, 120, 3 colorless energies doing 100 damage isn't terrible. With Giant Cape, we go to 140. I don't think it's that good, but anyway, there it is. And then, of course, Eevee Bag, we've already seen it, this broken item card that works specifically for your Evolution cards. Kind of a broken card, but we've already talked about it. So you can either heal 10 damage or 20. You can either heal 20 damage from all of your Evolution Pokemon at one time. Very crazy. It's basically like a smaller version of Irida in the form of an item card, or we can just have Giovanni in the form of an item card, and these do stack, so we can use them multiple times in one turn because they're item cards, and yes, the damage will stack, so that's effectively plus 20. If we have double Eevee Bags, you could play Eevee Bag and Giovanni, or Eevee Bag and Red to do even more damage. One of the, I guess, more influential cards that I think will probably definitely see play in all of these Evolution decks. Really, really strong item card, but we've already talked about it. Now let's talk about a couple of trainer cards which we haven't seen yet. These are brand new. One of them is a new tool card, so we're getting even more tool cards in Pokemon Pocket, and this is going to be Leftovers. So Leftovers is a new tool card. Similarly, I compared this to the difference between Poison Barb and Rocky Helmet. This is basically the Poison Barb version of Giant Cape. So at the end of your turn, if this Pokemon that this card is attached to is in the active spot, you heal 10 damage from that Pokemon. This may initially seem really broken, but again, it's not going to provide any additional value to things like Giant Cape unless we're living in the active spot for more than 2 turns, right? So we have to be in that active spot for 3 turns at least for this card to technically provide more value than Giant Cape. But again, you have to evaluate, you have to do the math, and you have to really figure out whether I would rather have 20 HP now or 10 HP for 3 continuous or more turns. So in general, I don't think this card is as strong as Giant Cape right off the bat. Also, you do provide some value on the turn in which you have attached it, right? So if your opponent's going to Guzma you next turn, theoretically speaking, at least we heal 10 damage, whereas if we attach a Giant Cape and then get Guzma'd, we're all the way back to where we started. So theoretically speaking, it's a bit better against Guzma than Giant Cape is, but I don't know if it'll see more play or be a better card than Giant Cape. It's typically better in Pokemon Pocket to have that more HP ahead of time instead of healing slowly, just kind of the way that the math works for sure in Pokemon TCG, but maybe it's different. I don't know. It's something that's probably meant to go with Snorlax for sure and things like Greedant, but not a bad card whatsoever. I don't think it's super broken, but I do think it's good and pretty interesting that we got a card like this. Again, I'm comparing it to Poison Barb and Rocky Helmet. We have Leftovers and Giant Cape. Very similar in how they function, just a little bit differently. Yeah. Next up is probably, and this is funny because this is the last card that we're going to take a look at, or one of the last cards, not something that we ever saw yet. There's only 2 supporter cards that are coming out in this mini set. We've already seen Penny. So Penny's kind of a meme card. We've already talked about this. I know some people have seen this card, but the last card we're going to talk about is How. This card will likely be the most influential and impactful card to come out in Evolutions, or at least one of them, or Eevee Grove, that is. And How reads, during this turn, attacks used by your Decidueye EX, Incineroar EX, or PRIMARINA EX do 30 damage plus 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So this is broken. So effectively speaking, all of those 3 Pokemon can now play How and do 30 plus damage to whatever you're attacking. You know, you got to remember Incineroar and PRIMARINA and Decidueye, or no, not Decidueye, but Incineroar and PRIMARINA have 1 energy attacks that do pretty decent damage. So PRIMARINA, like we were talking about, is going to do 40. If you have 2 energies, it does 80. So if we do get 2 energies and we play How, basically we have the ability on our second turn going second to literally do, 110 damage with PRIMARINA is insane. Incineroar, I believe, does, like 30 in poison? Or 30 in burn? Is that the number for Incineroar? I kind of forget. It's either 30 in burn or like 20 in burn or something like that. Or maybe, is it even 10 in burn? I forget. I could probably just look it up. Let me look. I know people are going to correct me in the comment section, so here you go. Incineroar EX, it does 30 damage and burn, so that's effectively 50 damage. How is going to turn that 50 damage into 80 damage for 1 energy Incineroar? You can go first and then Rare Candy, and then attack for that first attack, do 30, effectively actually do 60 if we play How, and get the burn. That's going to be enough to KO like a type Null that hasn't evolved yet. Just a ton of damage, and the burn does persist as long as you're in the active spot. It doesn't go away, I don't believe. I don't think that's how it works. I think you have to retreat or evolve to get rid of the burn. I also could be wrong about that, honestly. I don't know. But anyway, this is going to be a massive buff to Incineroar. Also a decent buff to Decidueye. Decidueye saw a little bit of play last format, but it wasn't necessarily that crazy. Also, Decidueye likes to do damage to the bench, so How's not going to work for you sniping the bench with Decidueye. It only works for the active. Still relevant for sure, but I think it's going to be predominantly extremely strong against. You do flip a coin? Is that the case? Maybe you do flip a coin for burn. I don't remember. But anyway, How is going to greatly increase the viability of Incineroar. I think Incineroar with How is going to be one of the strongest decks in this new archetype or in this new metagame. It's an incredibly strong combination that I think we're going to see all over the place. Again, Incineroar has seen play previously. Now it's being buffed pretty tremendously. And PRIMARINA seems like a very strong card as well. We can play 2 copies of How. We can play 2 copies of Lily or Irida. We can play 2 copies of Misty. PRIMARINA with that 1 energy attack is also going to be really strong. So How is an incredible supporter card, and I think it's going to make all of those EX decks a lot stronger, both Incineroar, Decidueye, and the new PRIMARINA. Incredibly strong supporter card here. That's kind of what we're ending this particular set review on, is How. This card is crazy. Functionally a broken card. So you're going to want to stay tuned and see all of the crazy decks that we build with it. My first opinion here, like we were talking about Flareon and hyping it up, and I think Flareon is really strong, but I mean, Incineroar with How is crazy. That's insane. I don't know what else to say about it. Again, we'll have to see exactly how it performs in the metagame. Oricorio does still exist, so How is luckily not boosting the damage that Burn does to you. So it is certainly going to be a counter still to Incineroar, but anyway, yeah, How, crazy supporter card. The metagame might just be the 3 starter Pokemon, those 3 Alola EX starter Pokemon, because this supporter card is crazy. It really is. So anyway, there it is, guys, and there's the full Eevee Grove expansion. I have been delightfully surprised. Here are the other cards. We did get Eevee Bag as a gold card here, the Crown Rare. The immersive card for the set is Eevee, a really cool card. I did manage to pull one of these. All of the Evolutions do have these full art cards, as we see up here. Eevee and then all of its evolutions have these full arts. The EXs all have full arts, of course. How and Penny have full arts, and then the rainbow rares here, we'll take a look at them. Here is Flareon. Here is PRIMARINA. I think all of the EXs probably have full arts, I believe. Here is Sylveon. This one looks really cool. Dragonite, which also looks incredibly cool. I love this card. Snorlax has a rainbow rare as well. So anyway, we also have some shiny Pokemon that got shiny versions of them, EX cards from back in the day, and non-EX Pokemon. So the Gardevoir line, now shiny. The Electrode line, Lapras, Pinsir, Arbok, and Farfetch, all shiny versions. But we also got shiny Gallade, which is kind of random. But then all of the original EX Legendary Bird Trio, Moltres, Articuno, and Zapdos do have their own shiny variants now, which is definitely pretty cool for sure. So there they are. I don't think any of them see play in the metagame anymore, but anyway, they also got shiny versions. And there it is, guys. That is the Eevee Grove set. It is currently 3:30 in the morning, and I am live in front of 600 people right now on YouTube. So I'm also sweating because it's super hot in my office. So we're going to wrap this up. I am delightfully surprised about Eevee Grove. I think this set is absolutely busted. So many strong new cards. Again, it does look like the metagame is going to be shaken up drastically. I would definitely recommend that you guys open up these packs, get all of these cards, and get ready, because there's going to be a ton of crazy new decks that people will be playing in this new metagame. The meta is going to be evolved. It's going to be shifting around a lot. It really is going to be crazy. So stay tuned. We got a bunch of videos coming. We're going to keep up with the metagame. I'll let you guys know what decks are the best. I'll be testing out a bunch of stuff, looking around, showcasing what, is the best decks to be playing right now, like we do on the channel. We're going to, keep up with everything for sure. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out. Have a good one. Everybody in the chat, say bye. Maybe they're going to watch it back on YouTube. Who knows? But if you're not here on the live streaming and you're watching this video, I definitely appreciate it. Like and subscribe. All right, let's get out of here, guys. Peace out.